Smoking on airplanes.
I know. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, bro.
I don't know how to play with that.
Stacy, did you know that in 1969, when smoking was allowed on all flights,
Good morning, guys.
and on the moon,
I have an idea.
and it starts with ashtrays and it ends.
You hearing me okay?
Precious freedoms being stripped away, but we don't have
Thank
to.
you.
Like Rosa Parks and David Lee Roth when we left Van Halen, we can say enough injustice. We can smoke one for America.
I mean,
I'm done ready. I got the goods. You want some cars? We'll be there. We got a dealership in the ICU. 211 cars getting suntans on the line.
No, I don't mean to complain, but it's been a year and a half since I've been home. And I'm 90% sure I left my front door.
July 4th weekend, everybody, and we're going to war. Don't even get me started on Pearl Harbor. We are the Americans, and they are the enemy. Never again! Never again! Never again! Not We brought elegance! That Don Reddy sure does put on a show. These people are excited about the savings. I think that man said, Handy wants to pay in cash, not sequential unmarked bills, neatly packed in his canvas bag.
Well, that's a bank bag, too.
Here's rolling up the blocks this summer to a theater. Hey, Stan, trust me, I'm already there. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me. Hey, no, trust me.
Joe O'Brien loves to sell cars.
This is not the car for me. I'll just touch the one button.
I'm talking emotional support. Emotional, can you afford that?
Make it happen. This emotional thing you want.
And he loves
Why?
too many women.
You know something? You're gonna go out there, you don't take it like a shot.
That's how she take care of my ladies. But I believe you, Tina.
We were asked for you. Do you remember why?
No.
That's a little explaining to you.
You're two and my wife and his wife. We got time to make a living.
Oh, what's he talking? You're doing this too?
Come on, Lisa.
I know you don't leave the door.
What's that waiting for? How many girls you got?
Lisa's my daughter.
You're not gonna do it. You're not gonna wait.
You like nice. That's what. He's a busy boy. You're a Joe. You're very busy boy.
There isn't an explanation for it. There really is. Oh, easy for you. It is. Careful, man.
If you come inside, sir, we can work out the numbers. Well, why don't you go inside and get your boss's best price and then come out here and tell me what it is? Well, it doesn't work that way, sir. Yes, you are looking to come inside and fill out the papers, but I will not believe your statements. No, I'm serious. But I'm not coming inside.
A classic.
This is a sticker price. If you cannot come inside, sir, this is the best we can do. Maybe you don't comprende, snowflake. I will buy this car, but I refuse to come inside. I'll be waiting. Right here. Look at an extra 50 looking at this deal. That's a lay down, I know it. I don't give a shit. I'm not talking to this asshole anymore. You know why he won't come inside? Because he's afraid. No. He's afraid of you. He's afraid of me. He's afraid of every fucking thing here. He's afraid of fucking porters who wash the cars. I'm done talking to this piece of shit. This pedal fuck has no respect. You don't want his respect. You want his money. He can't buy shit with respect. How many of these jerks come in here screaming, I'm not buying anything today. I'm just looking. You think they're talking to you? No, they're talking to themselves. They've been fucked so many times, they finally realize they're easy. Go bury this cheap. I did enough. Give it to someone else. I'll give you an extra 100 to close this deal. 150. Don't push the luck. Three-quarters to the shoulder, please. Three-quarters to the shoulder. That's it, my friend. Almost done with the figures we have written up for you. What the hell is this? Your payments. Oh, let's not go high. If you cannot afford this car, thank you for stopping by. Wait. It's not that I can't afford it. It's, well, I mean, can I get a better deal? You have to go somewhere else for a better deal. Are you kidding? These are hard to find the tits on a catfish, especially in this car. I know, that's too bad. There must be other place you could have gotten a better deal. Where? Inside.
So there's just a couple different classic trailers there, just so you know. Try to keep it interesting since our Dolly Parton last week didn't really go the way I thought, but anyway, here we go. So welcome to AutoHub. Thanks everybody for joining in. A few great books that I just pulled out. Buying Cars for Dummies, How to Buy a Used Car, and Words That Sell Cars. So go ahead, Jeff, tell us more about used car from a wholesale perspective.
Hello, everybody. Welcome, and to our regular viewers, thank you for joining us. And I see a lot of new faces. So a little bit about the AutoHubShow is we just get people from all walks of automotive life, and just do a short presentation. They can just talk. It's their show, and all Ian and my job is to steer it and introduce people to each other. Today's show is used cars from a wholesale perspective. Obviously, that's a big discussion, used cars these days, supply, demand, and the three gentlemen that we have on today certainly know this very well. And we have Joe Overby from Auto Remarketing and Auto Remarketing Canada and Cherokee Media. We have Jason McLennan from eBlock, eDealer, eEverything. And Everald Reed, the fine co-host of, or host of his own training and everything else, and a long-term car guy with a very cool setup. I can tell by your screen with the ear things and the mic. Wow, I'm impressed. So we'll just get ourselves going, Ian.
Yeah, so a few housekeeping items. The AutoHub show is for the guests, not the host. It's your show, not ours. Please mute and unmute yourself. You can also click raise your hand if you have a question. I'll be moderating the chat box. There's a wealth of knowledge and experience on the call, so let's share ideas and respect each other's time. All AutoHub participants have agreed to be and open to be sharing ideas and are okay with others using them. Absolutely no selling, please. AutoHub is an open discussion with a focus on improving business. We value everyone's input. Speak up and bring value. Don't be afraid to brainstorm ideas and ask questions. Be respectful of everyone's time. After all, we are all busy professionals. Please do your best to stay on topic on the call. Don't forget to challenge our speakers and help them bring value on the show. Maybe, Jeff, you can talk about Vendor Speak, the selling show.
It would be my pleasure. Vendor Speak is our Friday show for guests and anybody else who would like to present their wares to our audience. This show is an information show, and you know, again, it's not a selling thing, although the three people on today aren't really looking to sell stuff anyways, because they're like doing so well. And if you interested to know more about Vendor Speak, please just reach out to me. You can there's a link to reach me through here. We do it Fridays. We are taking a break this coming Friday because it's like the end of summer and everybody's running away. And that's about it.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. So here are our three guests: Joe Overby from Auto Remarketing Canada, Jason McClenahan from eBlock, and then Evernold Reed from the Reed Method. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, it's a great pleasure for me to welcome Jason McClenahan here. Jason, thank you so much for agreeing to join us. You're a busy guy, and as you told us a few minutes ago, you just managed to get a holiday in last week. And Jason's somebody that I've known for a long time, and it's you see all these people you see on LinkedIn, you see all these terms about C-suite people and everything else, and you know, they MBAs and all this stuff. And Jason's got a UCS, used car salesman, probably a UCAS, used car auction salesman. And it's a real pleasure to have you aboard, Jason. Maybe you could fill us in a little bit about yourself, and so we can continue from there.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Jeff and Ian, appreciate the opportunity, and it's good to see you again, Jeff. It's been a few years, and like you said, through the school of hard knocks, through the auction business has been my evolution the last few years, and it's been a blast. So thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. Yeah, really quick. I mean, you know, E-Inc. We are the largest. E-Block is the largest dealer-to-dealer auction provider in the Canadian market. And our sister company, eDealer, is also market leader in its respective field as being the #1 website solution provider in the Canadian market. So we live in both the retail on the wholesale side in the Canadian market, and you know, building great products that can help dealers navigate the future is really why we're here, why we exist, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Well, that's great, because I know you guys have certainly made an impact, and you know, this new world we live in is perfect timing for eBlock, and you know, considering physical auctions, if there are any, are a challenge at best. So Jason, tell me what customer behavior changes you've experienced during these times.
Yeah, I mean, the buyer changes have been happening for years. Seller changes have been happening for years, even pre-COVID. You know, everybody was starting to dabble in the digital side, and even the physical auction business. A lot of people forget they're quite digital when it comes to buying cars on simulcast, obviously. But you know, obviously, right now, you know, unfortunate, the silver lining with what's going on is the fact that, you know, buyers don't want to be huddled, you know, shoulder to shoulder in a physical auction, but physical auctions are now selling almost 100% of their cars to a live simulcast bidder. So, you know, the way we see it right now and what we've seen changed instantly is those buyers and sellers that were kind of on the fence to give this a try, they've now kind of jumped in, you know, 2 feet right forward. And, you know, a lot of the consensus that we're hearing is they're upset they didn't try it earlier, you know, and change their behavior. They were a little bit set in their ways, and they're having some great success. But, you know, even more so, what we're seeing on the buy side is, like, you know, gone are the days of traveling to 2 or 3 physical auctions, driving in your car between Montreal, Toronto, Ottawa, so to speak, and doing the circuit or wherever that may be. And, you know, if you want to be competitive in the used car market, you've got to have some online auctions in your tool belt and expand your horizons for what you're looking for, and buy from further markets than you did before. You know, we're seeing vehicles move on average 400 plus kilometers per car sold right now, which years ago, when I first joined eBlock, it was about 150. So it's drastically evolved, it's drastically changed, and, you know, COVID has had a very big impact. And I think another big change that we've seen recently is a lot more sellers dabbling in the live appraisal space, you know, where prices have swung. I don't think anybody could have seen what was going to happen. You know, we were like everybody in March, everyone's like, what is going to happen? Like, you know, no one knew what was going to change. And, you know, one thing that we've seen is the live appraisals, because prices have gone through the roof, like record highs in the last few months with a shortage of inventory. And, you know, dealers really do need a digital live appraisal system to meet the consumer where they want to do business as far upstream in the process as possible. So those are some of the big indicators we've seen, is vehicles moving further distance between buyer and seller, and live appraisals for the seller standpoint have been a very hot topic here in the last few months.
Question for you, Jason. Seeing how much this business has changed, and to start with the letter E, what do you think the future holds for the physical auction business? Obviously, you have some history in that business as well.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few, if the only one, that would give a real big kudos to the brick and mortar auction businesses. I mean, that's my background. That's what got me passionate about the auction business. And you know, we're big believers in physical auctions are not going to disappear. That being said, you know, right now the shift has happened and the business has been pushed, we feel, 3 to 5 years into the future. And you know, these physical auctions that want to remain competitive and want to continue, they have to evolve. And by evolve, they've just got to invest in the right technology and the right process right now, and they'll be very relevant, because land and logistics is still a very big key to digital auctions. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize, but yeah, we're a digital dealer-to-dealer auction platform, but we also have land in every major marketplace across Canada. And that's really a key differentiator that we like to utilize, because physical auctions are not just digital, and digital auctions are not just physical. There's a blend there. And I just think a lot more vehicles down the road, there's just more opportunity and more capacity to sell a car outside your gate versus in your physical land constraints and your auction blocks.
Cool. And there's a last question here. I think, how are you supporting dealers as they digitally prepare for their business?
Yeah, when it comes to, we're in a unique situation here right now where we're about to release our brand new platform for e-dealers. So the whole point of this is to meet dealers with their evolving digital retail needs, because obviously, as much as wholesale has been pushed into the digital future, that's obviously also being driven by consumer behavior in the digital retailing side of it. So you're going to see the way we've kind of evolved and supported our dealers. We gave away a few products for several months to help them meet their customers, like Guaranteed Trade, and meet them where the customer lives, and that's appraising a vehicle before they get in the showroom. So what we're really trying to do is gather the feedback from our customers for what they want to see. We know we've got a very strong dev team, but we've also got a ton of automotive and auction experience in this team. So we're not just software developers that are building tech. We're experienced individuals that have great technology and listen to our customers' needs to evolve. And we see e-dealer starting to grow at a faster pace than actually e-block, which sounds a little bit surprising since it's such a mature business. But the digital retailing evolution is upon us. And again, I think that digital retailing, we view it as the exact same answer as I had with physical auctions. Meet the customer in what part of the process they want to do digitally, and let them wrap it up at the physical dealership. Like we're not the ones saying that Carvana is going to be the end all be all. It's going to be all digital retailing. That's not us. Nor are we the same way about the physical auctions. It's going to be a hybrid of both, is the way we see that. And we're really excited to work with our dealers to building products to suit to help execute that with them.
Cool. Thanks very much. So is there any questions from the audience at all?
Actually, I have another question.
Yeah.
What are the key factors that buyers and sellers should know about your platform versus physical auctions, other than they don't get to visit their buddies?
Yeah. Hey, that used to be the favorite part of my week, Jeff, getting up on the microphone and helping stitch used car dealers together. That was the best part, right? But, when it comes to, the key factors they should know with, we're not going to go into all the differentiators, but really what's interesting is our platform is very similar to a physical auction, with set timed auctions, set events, and auctions have done an incredible job of creating these events for decades. And we don't see that ever as changing. We just see that as a technology that complements and evolves to bring that urgency and that set auction time event into the marketplace. Is kind of the way that we evolved, and why eBlock is where it is. And we didn't go reinvent the wheel like other platforms that tried to do something so different. We tried to complement what the brick and mortar auctions did so incredibly well for so long, and just bring it into a mobile platform. And we built our platform, like most technology companies, mobile first, with a seamless desktop experience. And when you're in the dealer's pocket all the time with notifications and filters going off, to help them reduce time to acquire inventory, because that's really what it's all about. Buyers want to go somewhere that cars are going to say sold. They want to know what's going to be in that event before they get there. And they want to know there's going to be a critical mass of cars, to not waste their time chasing cars all hours of the day on platforms. And so really our key to success was being inspired by physical auctions and building something that really replicated the urgency and event set auction times as they did.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to have to move on. Thanks for that. To Evernold Reed. Now, Evernold has a lot of different background, mostly obviously in the automotive world, but also in advertising and training. So Evernold, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I seem to be pretty busy with the training space right now, and evolving some online automotive leasing courses. As obviously everything or a lot of things are going online, and there's a need, I find, for automotive leasing. Well, training in general in the automotive space is lacking. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. And leasing, I'm getting a lot of questions from dealers across Canada, but mainly in the United States, where they're still heavily focused on long-term 7, 8, 9-year finance deals, as opposed to leasing. And I just find it just so counterproductive, when you could lease 3 cars in 6, 7 years instead of selling 1 car. And that just creates a whole, slew of opportunities for dealerships by having these really nice cars coming back in off lease. So that's what I've been doing. I've created that online course on leasing, as well as selling yourself to clients, and as well as sales mindset, because I think it's a fundamental aspect of sales today is developing one's mindset and having people, salespeople and managers in the right space so that they can properly serve clients and serve themselves.
Thanks for that. So I had a question. Obviously, getting quality used cars or quality trade-ins are a problem for dealers, and that's obviously a longer problem, especially if you got someone in 7, 8, 9-year finance terms. So you got a lot of negative equity there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts on how to maximize profit and increase lease retention while keeping more of those lease returns?
Oh, absolutely. This is what this course came out of, is literally me getting back to the auto space. I was away for about 8 years, and then I came back to the space about almost 9 years ago. And we had a Toyota and a Lexus store, and all I could see were clients dropping off their cars at lease end and leaving. And I'm like, but wait a minute, where are they going? And no one, and I mean no one from senior managers, sales reps, or the owner had a clue about the database, about managing the database, and really harnessing the opportunities that were literally there underneath their noses and were disappearing. And literally at one of the dealerships, the portfolio was shrinking because so many people were left unattended and had the opportunity to, to go elsewhere, frankly. So the profitability is right within, and I stress this all the time. Too many dealers focus today on just what's coming in through the front door, and not as much attention as the existing database of great clients and great used cars and great opportunity and fixed ops and everything that derives from managing your portfolio. So a lot of that profitability is there within, but there's a lack of, I guess, knowledge, understanding, training on how to capture and to seize the opportunities of how to drive that profitability. I've actually done studies with this. I have a 5-year spreadsheet of what the implications are of each sales rep simply leasing 10% more. So if it's a 10 car a month guy and he leased one extra vehicle, what is the effect of 10 sales reps in a store leasing 10 extra vehicles per month, 120 per year? How does that play out over the next 3 to 4 or 5 years? And it's millions of dollars.
So is that just them not presenting leasing every time? Is that them not understanding leasing? Is that, I worked with a Toyota store in Beaverton, Oregon, and they actually have an office, a physical office at their service department, where basically it's reduce your payments.
Yeah.
You have a guy full time, and all he does, because they have about 400 service customers a day.
Wow.
All that person does is say, hey, you're in a lease, you're in a finance, you own the car, whatever. It's all about, let's get you into another vehicle. That's all we do there. So that I think is very interesting. So
the fundamental issue, Ian, is the training, because, and I'm telling you this factually, because I was being called by dealers across Canada, as you know, and I traveled out west, and I did some training in a lot of Alberta and BC dealerships. And one of the fundamental questions and then the feedback I was getting was from the managers themselves. Can you dumb this down a little bit for us? It's a little complicated.
Yeah.
So I literally had to go back and create a beginner, intermediate, and advanced course as a result, because they don't understand the opportunities that are, within their dealerships. It's the inability to articulate the actual benefits and how to define that to a client so that a client can actually understand it without confusing the hell out of them. Okay. Right? So you can't help the client if you're confused yourself. You can't present the option if you really, because clients are, as we all know, are so much more advanced today. They're coming in armed, ready. And if they don't know it, they can find out in about 30 seconds on Google or call somebody.
Yeah.
So we found that from the direct feedback, it was not enough practice, not enough leases so that they can gain the experience and gain the objections and so on. Not enough evidence to see the benefits of why you should lease. Because if I'm leasing one client 3 to 4 cars in the space of 6 to 8 years and getting 3 to 4 great used cars back, I'm creating twice the amount of opportunities within that same period of time. And it's 2 sets of F&I, 2 sets of fixed ops. It's just exponential. And this is what they fail to see. They really just largely look at, okay, who's coming in the door? How do we get the traffic in? How do we increase traffic? Well, it's great. You need increased traffic to grow, but you also need your database to grow.
Well, Everald, I have to say, in my years doing this, I found that Toyota and Lexus, of course, being that Toyota is just is the mothership, they're one of the most successful manufacturers on their lease portfolios and lease platforms.
Yes.
Because they realized early on, how do we get more cars back into the dealership?
Yeah.
And that way people can sell. But based on your experience training salespeople and working with Lexus lease customers, how do you recommend dealers obtain more used inventory through lease returns? And what do you feel the future holds for leasing?
Well, here's the key thing. And this is a discovery that I made as a result of when I returned to the space almost 9 years ago. I mean, I was not going to be the guy. I was managing before and I was in senior man, but when I returned, I decided to become an account manager because they had 2 dealerships that they wanted my help in. So I had an office in each dealership, a Toyota and the Lexus store simultaneously. And what I discovered was, number one, you had to reach out to the clients. I mean, it's so simple. The minute you sent out these lease renewal letters, you'd be amazed of how many people would respond, simply because a large number of the clients don't even know that they can break their lease or get out of their lease or upgrade as early as we think, as early as we know. But the fundamental takeaway and how to get used cars and how to build your inventory sooner rather than later was in the discovery I made when we started sending upgrade letters and emails out a year in advance. And there was a large response. We were talking 15 to 25% immediate response just from the letters, versus the 3% you get from flyers. So because it's specific to their account. So a large number of people responded. And then I kept going backwards. I kept going back in the calendar to 26 months. So 18 months, 2 years. And then I found a sweet spot at 26 months in advance. So literally, if you're in a 4-year lease, you're getting an upgrade notice or a letter or something 26 months in advance. And what I found out from that, after doing the research, was everyone in the dealerships are assuming people are coming in just because of payments and price. But the takeaway was they were responding to those even 26 months in advance because of their circumstances. And today, as you know, professionals, people are busy, they're moving, their job changes, there's so many things. And that was the way we drove our used car sales up. We drove our inventory up because we now found the fundamental reason, other than, price. Yes, you have to show the benefits. That's all. You always have to do that anyways, whether it's lower payment, whether it's more car, but that's how we drove our used car sales. And today at our Lexus store, 95% of the vehicles on our pre-owned lot are from our own database. Fantastic.
Question for you, everyone, from the audience. Are you working with any appraisal software to assist you on lease pull-aheads?
We did have a software for a couple of years, but there was only one element of the particular. Actually, it was more of a CRM system, and it did have an appraisal software built in. But no, I know the brands that you're referring to. We are actually, or have been actively pursuing one. I know that I think they've visited the dealership just before the whole COVID thing.
Okay.
And I know we've been looking at that.
Okay. And I have another question. In terms of helping automotive salespeople enhance their lease penetration and really present that, obviously dumbing it down is one way to do that. What have you found in terms of them embracing that versus
Well,
doing it before?
you know, okay. I saw a question literally last week on I think it was Automotive Millionaires, the Facebook web group, and a salesperson asked his manager. He was a new sales rep, and he said, I want to learn about leasing. Can you help me? Whatever the question was. But the answer was what I literally had to go make a video about it, because the answer was, don't worry about it. You'll learn someday. And he posted this, and it happens to be true. So salespeople need to realize that if you literally don't want to stand up and wait for ups or the phone to ring, you better take the opportunity to learn a bit more about leasing. It's a daily thing. You don't have to know it all today. It's customer by customer. It's a scenario by scenario. And once you embrace it and it starts to work for you, you will develop ways. I develop mechanisms and ways to reach, so that I could increase our lease penetration. Like some months it's 75%, some months it's 80, some months it's 60, but we're hovering around 70. Whereas the stores that I've talked to and gone to train were in their 30s,
Right.
maybe 40. So
when you increase it from say 30 to 40%, which seems to be the industry standard, like that's what their game point is. And I remember hearing from the owner of Paragon, or the operating partner of Paragon, years ago when I saw him in Vegas, that he was at about 75%, which at the time was the highest I'd ever heard of. When you move that number from, say, that 30, 40% target on the import side to 75%, how does that increase the quality and inventory and customer happiness at the dealership?
I think it's in a big way, because to increase the customer happiness, I think you have to increase the staff happiness, because that resonates.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've done this. I mean, I could name a couple of dealerships out west that have had this type of success with numbers. And they've even posted in testimonials about the effect of the trainings, but they were in their mid 30s, 40, and they ended up literally almost 100% better. But let's say they finished at 70 to 75%. The reason that occurred is sometimes it's just a matter of someone taking the time to spend with these sales reps, because they don't get proper training. Too many dealers are, leave training until it's a last minute thing and when there's desperation. Okay. As opposed to being proactive. So when you present opportunities to sales reps and you say, hey guys, number one, I'm still in this business. I'm doing it. So I'm not here, didn't just write a book and, decided to start training, but here's how I will show you practically how to fundamentally turn your business around. And you have to treat it as if it's your own portfolio of business within the dealership. And that's the first thing. So once you educate them, once you show them some practical scenarios, unlike anybody else, you can't, we all know payments are lower potentially on leasing and this, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about why, how, why.
And a question from the audience: does the business office support leasing, in your opinion?
Oh, 100%. In all the dealerships that I've coached, business office sales have skyrocketed.
Fantastic.
Okay. And I'm not telling everyone here how to run their dealerships, but I can tell you factually, one of the things that is included in the leases that I would do is the Lexus extended service plan.
Right.
And we would include like paint protection film and front tinted, like those are like 3 go-to things you include in your lease quotes. And let me tell you something. You're not seeking the customer's permission to include these. You obviously have to notify them to let them know it's there. But once you structure leases a certain way, your clients they appreciate what they have. You're the solutions provider. And this is what I teach all the time. it's not up to the customer to keep asking you questions because they don't know what they don't know. And if you're the professional in the field, I say it is your duty, it's your responsibility to present to them what value proposition is ideal. So I would structure the deals with ECP. Our ECP sales is 50%, 60%, sometimes 100% higher than national, which is 35%. So there are months I will do 75% because it's included. And there's no client that would say take it out unless it's a budget issue. But once you include those business office products initially, the second, the third lease, they don't want to not have those features going forward.
So I have another question from the audience. What would you consider to be a good lease penetration in Western Canada or a target? I mean, obviously it depends on import or domestic, but what would you think would be a good target for a dealer?
Okay. So having had some experience out there where most of them are well below 50, some below 40, I think we can take some baby steps, and in year one we have to get it over 50%. But with proper training, I've turned dealerships around in 12 months. Like they literally looked at their year over year and they increased 70, 80%. So it can go from 40 to 65 to 70 in 12 months with the right training and with the right systems.
And is that true in the domestic side too? Like if you're at a Chrysler store now, and not to beat on Chrysler, but let's just say a Chrysler store has a lot of 96-month, 84-month finance, a lot of negative equity.
Yeah.
And that would also be true probably with
it'll be a little tougher there, but I think you can certainly get them over the halfway mark. I think it's a realistic expectation that you can do 50, 55, and maybe depending on the demographic, up to 60%.
Okay. So thanks for that. Jeff, maybe you can introduce Joe.
Well, Joe, thank you for being so patient there. I know you had to let the dogs out, so I won't get into the song, but I'd like to welcome you and thank you. Joe's with our friends down at Cherokee Media, most specifically he's the senior editor of auto remarketing at Auto Remarketing Canada. Tremendous organization, probably the only one in Canada anyway that gets everybody together in auto remarketing. And Joe's got a very unique view on the entire market because he's a journalist, but he's also involved with all sorts of other things. So Joe, tell us a little bit more about yourself, and we've got a bunch of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Jeffy, and thanks for having me on. It's good to talk with you and all our attendees here. Yeah, it's been a really interesting industry to cover, particularly these past 5-6 months. I've been reporting on automotive and specifically the wholesale and used car retail side for about close to 13 years now. But these past 5-6 months have been some of the most dramatic and just, interesting for lack of a better word. We are based in Raleigh, North Carolina, and but our primary publication is Auto Remarketing, but we also have Auto Remarketing Canada. We launched that. I want to say we started doing digital e-newsletters in Canada 2009, and then 2014 thereabouts we launched a digital magazine and eventually a print magazine in Canada. My primary focus area is the U.S., but we certainly cover the Canadian used car market as well, and look forward to chatting with you guys here.
Super. That's we're glad to have you, and it's as we're expanding internationally, although we've had American viewers for quite a long time. So from your perspective, having a closer relationship to the U.S. market, but the access to Canadian data, how the wholesale auction volumes, prices, and supply behaved over the course of the pandemic?
Well, the short answer is that if you plotted the industries on a graph, it'd be a U shape. Certainly in the U.S., the market kind of hit bottom in late March, early April, and conditions have certainly been consistently rising since then. In fact, the Manheim Index as of August 5th or August 15th was on track for wholesale prices to reach a third straight record month. A similar analysis from JD Power found that auction prices had increased in the U.S. for 16 straight weeks. On the volume side, similar to the pricing trends, late March, early April, the sales volume at auction had fallen as much as 80%, according to Black Book. But that too has bounced back. Since that early spring, it's really risen there. And on the supply side, one of the big stories we've covered, everybody with the Hertz bankruptcy, there was a lot of fear that there would be a lot of supply hitting the auction market at once. And that really hasn't happened. That the fear that folks had that there would be a saturation of used car supply from Hertz having to defleet really has not been as dramatic as folks may have thought initially. I think they've done kind of a good job of spreading that inventory out, using different channels, be it physical auctions or digital or likewise, or direct to consumer. And in Canada, which we follow as well, I know last week Canadian Black Book reported that the prior week had the largest increase in wholesale truck prices in 2 years, and that car segment prices are now stable. So there have also been 4 straight weeks of wholesale truck price increases. So, there appears to be a little bit of stability there in Canadian used car pricing. And, looking forward, I know Canadian Black Book is forecasting wholesale prices for the next few months are going to be down 10% from what had been projected before the pandemic. But, take that with a grain of salt, because they initially thought that prices would be down 17%. So certainly an improving market there. And anecdotally, from the retail side of the used car market, we report on certified pre-owned sales, and Hyundai Canada, as one example, has had 2 straight months of record CPO sales, and other brands that share their sales are also seeing some recovery. And then another kind of microcosm, Auto Canada, which is the sole publicly traded dealer group, reported in its earnings that the latter stages of Q2, May and June, really saw a big bounce back in used car sales. So, in both the U.S. and Canada, really seeing conditions improve over, this late spring and early summer months.
So quick question for you, Joe. How have you seen auctions reacting to this? And have they changed their strategies at all? I mean, I hear dealers complaining about what they got to pay for cars in the Canadian market. And I also hear them complaining they can't find enough cars. Just curious as to what you're seeing there.
Well, for sure, the pandemic sort of forced their hand a little bit early. I think, you have at least in the U.S., the 2 largest corporate auctions, Manheim and Odessa, went all digital for a while. I know Manheim has been testing with certain, they're still doing simulcast sales, but they're kind of pilot testing, bringing dealers back into the auction lanes. Still no cars are running through the auction lanes. And those 2 entities were really ramping up their digital capabilities anyways. And I think I believe Jason mentioned it earlier that this kind of accelerated the timeline of auctions doing more digitally. And then from the independent side, a lot of them have gone to digital sales. There's a large number that are resuming in-person or in-person live sales, of course, with all the necessary safety precautions. And then some have gone and have explored the dealer-to-dealer online market. I mean, for example, Jason McClanahan's company, they've partnered with several independent auctions to create a dealer-to-dealer online sales space that independent auctions can access. So I think from a corporate level, but also, from a individual, for lack of a better word, mom and pop, small business, independent level, they're all, they're not going entirely digital, but they're, ramping up digital offerings.
I got a couple of questions for you, actually. Number one, you mentioned Hertz down there. Has it affected anything up here in Canada? And then secondly, my train went off the track, sorry. How is this wholesale activity that's going on, you're mentioning, how's it affected the retail used vehicle market?
Sure. To your first question, I have not dug that deep into how it's impacting the Canadian market. I would be curious to see, based on the fact that it was a bankruptcy filed in the U.S. in U.S. courts, and that part of the agreement of how many cars they're disposing of was done through a U.S. court. I don't know if that had any implications on how many cars they're going to have to defleet in Canada. It may very well have. I don't have the answer to that. But as far as how things are, how the wholesale activity has impacted the retail side, for one, trade-in prices. Dealers are paying a lot more for trades coming in to get the inventory they need. In fact, Edmunds reported recently that the prices that dealers are putting on trades climbed more than 16% between June and July. And obviously that has to do a lot with just the fact that there's a lot more retail demand and that there's a bit of supply scarcity. But in a similar analysis, Black Book pointed out that with record prices at auctions these past couple months and some challenges around getting those vehicles transported, that trade-ins may actually be the most efficient route for dealers to secure used car inventory, despite the fact that they're having to pay more for them.
Right.
Terrific.
I have a question here. Your position as an industry conduit gives you a unique position of observing the participants in the market while interacting on a personal level with dealers. What's your pulse on the market as a whole, both wholesale and retail?
Sure. Yeah, I think just in general, conditions are improving. Things are getting better. What's really been kind of an overall theme, in both the wholesale and retail market is that dealers and auctions are entrepreneurs at heart, and they've made a lot of adjustment these past 5 or 6 months, getting creative on sourcing inventory, on selling and meeting customers where they are. I know folks like Sonic and CarMax and others have, ramped up their digital experience, and they're just adapting to conditions. And that's really been evident in both the wholesale and retail side of the markets, and auctions are doing the same thing. Cool.
Actually, I'd like to just jump in with Jason here for a second, just on my question on the rental. And you hear so much of it in the U.S. about how the lack of rental activity is affecting the market, obviously the Hertz thing. Do you notice anything here in Canada?
Not necessarily. I'll just echo what Joe said is inventory. We've seen a boom in volume of inventory on our platform, but I don't think the market in general, it's significantly down. There's scarcity of cars. So the effect that we've seen is, like Joe said, the prices are just through the roof. I've never seen the type of returns for trades, aged inventory. Guys are coming out ahead and sometimes selling it on our platform for more than retail on a piece of aged inventory. But it's very unique right now what's going on. We know it'll be short-lived, and I'm sure when you got to keep in mind too, there's a lot of lease returns that got pushed out during the time of COVID. So we were about to go into a time that had record amounts of lease returns on both sides of the border that were supposed to flood the market. So we had been forecasting for an influx in inventory, which would then hurt conversion rates on vehicles, which we didn't see happen. We saw the opposite, where there was a scarcity, there was a pullback of of inventory there for buyers to purchase. So we've actually seen the other direction where conversion rates have just gone through the roof, as well as average sale price and just general prices of cars. And it's the highest swing I've ever seen in my 20 years in the auction business.
Question for you from the audience. One of the managers on the show said there's a lack of rental product available in Western Canada. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lack of product across the industry in general. And in the past, we had not sold a lot of rental units on the eBlock platform. We've been selling a lot more repossessions and dealer-to-dealer vehicles right from the franchise and independent selling dealer. So we haven't been impacted by that. I think the majority of those rental fleets would have typically sold through the ADESA channels in the past and selling direct to dealer. So I don't think a lot of these units are actually getting to the auctions right now because there's such a demand selling direct to the dealers that need the inventory.
Interesting. Any other final questions, Jeff, or any other questions? Oh, exports to the U.S. has never been stronger. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen truck prices from stuff that we sold on our platform in October that's circulated back again with a $10,000 increase in price from October. So it's been just incredible. Like, the amount of money that trucks are pulling, everywhere, to be perfectly frank, is just through the roof, and exports have never been bigger. We do see this starting to soften here as you get into September, October, where vehicles are going to start, the off-lease units that got pushed back start hitting the market, rental fleets that start, possibly defleeting now. The Hertz vehicles are going to have an impact when those slowly start getting caught up, when there is enough inventory out there. So we do see September, October things starting to slowly change. But right now, who could predict what's going to happen next, to be perfectly frank? I mean, we're like in a spring market right now, to be perfectly honest. Like, that's what it feels like. It feels like we just hit spring car market and things have just been flying. So, but export, I totally agree with that, has never been stronger. Even though the Canadian dollar has started to pick up steam recently, it still hasn't affected those exporters from buying a ton of trucks and shipping them south of the border.
Right on.
I'm actually seeing from some of my domestic contacts, and Ian and Everald mentioned about the domestic 84, 96, and 108 month finance, that they're actually pulling people out of their trucks they bought a year ago, rolling them into new ones, and then taking those and selling them south. And I haven't seen that in this volume back since the early 2000s, when the dollar was so nuts.
Yeah, like the pull ahead programs that guys are working on, if they're not mining their database right now and they're selling trucks, like, you're missing so much opportunity. It's incredible what's available right now for these forward thinking dealers that could just mine their own database, pull consumers ahead into something new with different payments, lower payments typically, because they can pay so much for that truck that's been on the road for 18 months or whatever it is. And it's really a good opportunity to flip a vehicle multiple times and keep a customer happy in the process.
Fantastic. Well, we're running out of time, so I appreciate everybody. Just talking a little bit about the show, which won't be next week because we're taking a week off. It'll be September 8th. 4 guests: Asif from Okotoks Honda, Jordan Knott from Cott Auto Group, Ted Hamlin from Expert Automotive. He's also operated a lot of dealerships across Canada and is a trainer as well. And Sean Vording from Carfax, as long as he gets corporate approval to speak, just so you know. It's a big process with them. And then, just in case you were curious about upcoming shows, F&I Tactics and Training on the 14th of September, Reboarding, Restaffing on the 21st, Service Drive Training on the 28th. Stay tuned for a great announcement of guests for that show. In October, we've got a number of shows, and also in November. For Vendor Speak, Amanda on the 11th, Barry Jordan from White Glove on the 18th, Jason Soderberg, the CEO of NABDAT, will be speaking on the 25th, and we're filling dates for October and November now. So if for any speaker wants to be on those shows, reach out to Jeff. And that's it for today. Any final thoughts, Jeff? This is also on our website, just so you know.
I thought it was a great show, and I really appreciate the input of everybody. Joe, Jason, Everald, and not in that order, just because that's what's the orders on the screen. Tremendous information. I certainly picked up some great stuff, and I'm going to go out there and find a whole bunch of trucks to sell on eBlock, and Joe track the information, and maybe lease a few Lexuses there to get people to call Everald. So thank you all for attending. Thanks to our some of our regular attendants here. You know, John Latka, I see up there. Jim Nauman, thank you. Jim, I don't see your Corvette though, but that has to be my weekly shout out.
We've got
Thank
about
you all
5
for
minutes, Jeff. So if anyone has any final questions or any final statements from the guests or from the speakers, don't all speak at once.
Well, I'll speak because you can never get me to shut up. I have to say, normally it takes us about 8-9 minutes to wind the show down, and all of a sudden here we are filling in things. Anything else to add from Everald, Jason, or Joe?
Well, certainly the idea that Jason proposed, being very active in your database is something that whether your clients are financing or leasing, especially if they're leasing, you should be proactive. That's the main thing right now for sustainability of business going forward. It's no more the waiting game. Customers coming through are frankly a bonus. The ones that you should be managing, and developing your portfolio is your existing client base. So I hope salespeople take that approach going forward, where it's not just a wait and see business anymore. It's more about managing and developing, the habits of managing a portfolio.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I agree with you, Everald, and I think exact same concept where meet the customer wherever you want, wherever they want to do business or start the process or start the transaction as far upstream as they want, and then complement that with the experience when they do end up in your showroom, if they do. If they don't want to end up in your showroom, find a way to sell that vehicle, obviously sight unseen, off site, and deliver it to them is where this kind of needs to evolve. But, where I think we're a little bit away from there, but not too far away. But, it's just an amazing time to be in the technology automotive space right now, and to be listening to customers and both consumer, both dealer partners as well, and figure out what's going to happen next. So, meeting them where they want to do business, I think, is the most important aspect right now. And I think you can see it for the first time ever in the disparity of who's doing well and who's doing poor right now. You're seeing some dealers have incredible months and being highly profitable because they've trimmed a lot of expenses up and they're doing a great job at servicing the dealer or consumer where they want to be serviced. But then there's others that are screaming they've got nothing going on. To your point, where go make it happen. Now's the time to go make it happen.
Absolutely.
And I'll add that I think the approach that Everald and Jason talk about also lend itself to kind of a more personalized approach to your individual interactions with the consumer. If you're mining your database and you can find the customer that has a trade-in that's, worthwhile, and you've seen what they've bought before, my thought is you could probably tailor that experience to their individual needs better.
I'll leave us with one quick thought to dealers and salespeople looking to really streamline the experience and their own profitability, their own destiny, frankly, going forward. And that is, we know clients don't like the buying process. And if you are proactively targeting your database with valuable solutions to offer them, and it may not work this month, but at least you can monitor it month by month as programs and incentive programs change and trade values go up and down, interest rates, whatever. There will be a time, and clients like the fact that they have they have a car guy that's taking care of this whole car buying problem for them, so that they don't have to think about it. And if you keep proactively proposing solutions ahead of even the clients thinking about it, solving a problem before they even have one is the key going forward.
Love that. All right. Well, and since it's the time, any final thoughts, Jeff? You got 1 minute.
Oh, it was a great show. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. Joe and Jason, I know you're new to us, and Everald as well. And it was fun. Thank you all.
I think I met Joe in Vegas recently or something.
Oh, in ADA, yeah.
Yeah.
Before they shut the doors.
That's right.
Yes.
And Everald, your company is Reed Marketing, right?
It's the Reed Method International, and under that, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
All right. Well, have yourself a great week. Thanks very much. And it'll be live online probably later today or worst case tonight. And if you have any questions for us, let us know. And thanks
Awesome.
again for coming on. We appreciate it. Have yourself
Thank you
a
for
great
the
day.
opportunity. Great seeing you
Likewise.
guys. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hopefully we'll see you soon, Jason.
Okay. I'm logging off here. One sec.